we're just going now. So I'll just.
Yeah, do you just want to like lay out the story and then I'll give like some, I guess, like facts about it?
So basically, this whole thing right now is called From Echo Park to Space, a Fast and Furious adventure. We're gonna be reviewing every single Fast and the Furious movie that has come out, and in time to review the final one that comes out. We're joined by a very special guest, very smart, kind, just the best person ever, Anastasia Augustin, my girlfriend. She is going to be joining us for the first one. We have a few different people lined up for the other upcoming ones, and then we'll, roto whoever is available. Okay, so what else did I miss on the intro besides basically what we're doing? Oh, full disclosure, if you're listening to this is also going to be on YouTube. If you want to see what me and Anna are dressed like, Anna's dressed like her favorite character, Jesse. I am dressed like my favorite character in this movie, Toretto. Dominic Toretto, played by none other than the great Vin Diesel, who honest to God, I have a solid theory about this. I don't get, if people think he's a bad actor, I'm not buying it. I think he absolutely sells this fucking movie. From beginning to end, I've never believed a character more.
He's great at pointing.
Okay, we did
phenomenal pointing.
Before we do that,
what this whole film is about, pointing. They have, I counted exactly how many points there are. There are 16 points within the first 12 minutes and 42 seconds of the film. In total, there's 123 points.
Oh my
the
God.
film is like maybe an hour and like 45. It's like 145 minutes or something like that. So that's almost like 2 points for every minute.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
At a certain point, no pun intended. Is that a pun?
That's a pun.
Is that a pun? No
it's
pun
not
intended.
Pun. You just said point and point.
Thank you, John. Anna, this is not your show. Relax. You're a guest. treat the talent like we're supposed to be treated, Anna. Okay, so there was a lot of points throughout the whole movie. The theme, obviously, the number one theme is my Zoom background, family. Like from the get-go, the family narrative, the family theme is set off. I've never seen a more natural leader than Dominic Toretto. This guy, he'll dive on a grenade for you. If Captain America, if Chris Evans, or what's his name, if Steve Rogers and Dominic Toretto were alive in the same decade, I'm not sure who the doctor would pick to inject with the super soldier serum. That's all I'm saying. He'll give you the back on his shirt. Okay? This movie, and what doesn't, like, the thing that I need to hammer home, and we need to hammer home throughout the whole experience, is this starts in Echo Park, and they were in London a movie ago, and they're going to space, and they're supposed to be regular people. This is absolutely
They drive.
incredible.
They're street racers.
Street racers.
It's insane.
But they never like articulate that. Like they never actually explain like what they're doing, what they're stealing, or anything like that in the first film at all. They're
Best
just
part.
Like,
So we should. Okay, so let's start it out just from the beginning. Okay, this is so crazy. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, we see a truck who gets the stuff stolen that we don't know. We don't know what gets stolen. A crew of misfits steals whatever is in this truck, and the coolest still to this day, no matter, I think, Anna, you made a point about it when we were watching it. You were like, to this day, as many times I've seen a car, nice, John, nice. As many times as I've seen a car go underneath another truck, it's still cool. Watching the car go underneath the big rig is still cool, no matter how many times you watch it. We start with that, and then we get into the, I guess we just...
Is it just like a light product placement? John drinking the Corona.
Oh, yeah. I told you I was drinking them all the way through.
Coronas.
Well, only Coronas.
Yeah. Got a Costco pack.
So then we What do we get into? Do we get into the Toretto's market? The fact that Toretto has a market.
What's it called? It's Dom. Is it just Toretto's?
Toretto's market.
Yeah.
Is that the sandwich place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they never explained that.
We never see it again. He never talks about it.
No.
Ever again.
What happens throughout the series? Like, who's manning the front? Like, is it just closed
Bro.
indefinitely?
It has to be. I don't know. I don't know what happens.
What do you think their hours are? Like 12 to 4, Monday through
For
Thursday?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because at a certain, I remember like after the first race, which we'll get to. So okay, hold on. We'll just go to it. So after the granny shifting scene where he's like, dude, I almost had you. Brian gets invited to Dom's party after he saves him. And at that party, it's late at night. The neighbors are so close by, and you make the point, which is like, are the hours 12 to 4? Because it doesn't. When is that part? What is it? A Tuesday? I don't understand. And then the car racing. When do you car race? You're not gonna street drag race at 12.
I'm assuming it's like Friday or Saturday because they had to stop a pizza boy from like crossing the street.
Pizza
so
man.
People only get pizza.
That was a 50-year-old man that they called Pizza Boy.
Which is so funny. It's like they lost the extra. It's like, wait, who do we cast an extra? No. And they were like, all right, John, you're going to have to go in as the pizza guy.
Yeah.
It probably is like the director or somebody.
I mean, doing the story, trying to talk about the story is, okay, let's just take the first act. Okay. Nothing is explained. It takes 35 minutes for you to find out that the main character is an undercover cop. It takes 35 minutes.
That's when shit turns up and it's like, okay, we're off to the races now. The other pun. But
okay,
it's great.
Go ahead.
No. From then on, it's great. It's just amazing. It's just like, oh shit, I thought this was just underworld and racing in LA. And it's like, turns on its head, unleashes a full story.
That is true. It is a slow burn. Because you have no idea who Brian is. He shows up at Toretto's Cafe. He gets a tuna, and then he shows up there a lot because Mia, who's the love interest, who's played by Jordana Brewster, is like tuna no crust, right? Tuna no crust, and she makes a joke of like oh yeah, like they let us know that he's there every day, and then he looks at Dom. This is the moment he sees Dom in the movie. He looks at Dom like he wants to fuck Dom. Like,
yeah, for sure.
The whole movie is Brian looking at Dom like he loves him.
Is it a love story between them two?
It feels like a love story. I swear to God, because in the history, because I looked up the history, which I'll explain at the end. This movie was rewritten like 3 or 4 times. I swear to God, Brian was originally supposed to be a woman. I just believe that in my heart. The way he looks at him constantly, leering at him, it is like he's falling in love with him every second. What's going to say, John?
I have a point about the whole plot when we get to it. Just
okay. All right. So this is crazy. So he the way the movie's okay, so he's at the Toretto's Cafe. Then the crew that we find out the rest of the crew, which is Vince, the Neanderthal, Jesse, Anna's favorite character,
the brain,
yeah, who is for whatever reason he's just like autistic with machines, like he's super smart with.
No, he does. It's not even like that crazy. He's just like ADHD or something.
That's one incredible.
Yeah,
like this.
That's normal now.
Yeah, it calms his like ADHD, like cars and engineering. It makes total sense.
Which is, by the way,
all kids have that now. By the way,
this movie
brought it out and made it prevalent in society, and for that,
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fast and Furious.
On the forefront of mental health awareness.
So low stakes. Everything is so low stakes. ADHD. Truckers and DVDs, FBI agents, like everything. It feels like there's no purpose to any of it. and we meet we meet the crew at Toretto's marketplace. We meet the crew. Vince has a crush on Mia, and then this is like when the first bit of action begins, and he's like a wreck loose cannon, and then him and then it's some lines that cannot be said anymore, but things are said, which when in the rewatch you're like, whoa, hey, can't say that anymore. They get into a fight, and then he tries to get them fired, and then we get to the race, right? Does anybody want to talk about the race? I feel like I don't want to just retell this movie. I feel like we should just like talk about the story.
Yeah, so I mean, the race is like that sets up the whole franchise, right? It provides you with the underworld, provides you with the cars that you're going to expect, provides you with Hector, who is the gift that just keeps on giving. Ja Rule, Blast from the Past, shows up, and you forget he ruled the world at that point.
Yes.
He was all over the top 10 or top 100 song charts with Ashanti. I think they had a song together.
Still bangers.
Oh yeah, great songs. I don't know what he's doing now, but so that scene, yeah, you get the race, you get the cars, you get the characters, you get the respect that Dom has amongst his fellow racers. Everyone just like loves him. He shows up, everyone's high-fiving him. Ja Rule's character is even like, oh, he's here, now it starts. All these chicks swarm him. We see who Letty is because she's just like skanks everywhere.
Yeah.
And we see like everyone's place with Leon, Vince, Jesse are all just in the background, just kind of hovering and just like in support of Dom. We see Hector holding the money, and we see Brian, kind of like you see his place, like he's not quite there yet. He's an unknown. He wants respect amongst the racing world. He's trying to get that shoe in there. And he's willing to risk his car, which looks rather expensive. I'm not a car guy, but I'd say it's at least 60 grand for that car, based on what they put on underneath it.
They all look so shitty too. Like all the cars look so beat. And the most what you failed to mention, we get NOS. We get an unbelievable amount of NOS that's never explained. My favorite scene is like he goes and he's like, he goes into, so wherever he's working, never articulated. Harry's.
Yeah.
And he's like, I felt like he's like got like a father-son vibe with the owner. That's not like an unspoken thing. And he's like talking about Dom or Toretto, and he's like, I need 2 tanks of NOS. And like that's it. And then he goes to the race. And they never explain what it is. I only remember it from the energy drink.
Well, that's what's so confusing, because that's what leads the whole, like, the movie is so confusing for the first 35 minutes because like John said earlier, you think this movie is just about street racing and you have no idea who Harry is in relation to Brian, because because after the fight and Brian goes, hey man, this is bullshit. And he after the fight, he grabs his ID, he looks at it and he goes, Brian Edward Spillner.
Earl
Spillner. That's a serial killer's name. Brian, are you a serial killer? And then he goes, never come back here. And then Brian goes, hey man, this is bullshit. And he turns around, crazy point. Right? And he goes,
the first one?
I don't know if that's the first one. It could be.
I don't think it's the first one.
I don't think it's the first one. It could be 10 for all we know. He points at him and he goes, you work at Harry's down by whatever. You don't anymore. Tries to fire him off the bat. And then he goes over and that's when he does the whole NOS scene, but you have no idea. Harry seems to be the boss. You don't know who Brian is. And Brian's just bossing Harry around. And that's all the information you get. Like, there is no like, hey, like, how long are you going to be here? Like, Brian, I'm starting to freak out. What if people get that you're an undercover cop? Like, I'm getting phone calls, like none of that. It's just like, hey, what'd you do to Toretto? When kids see him leave here, they come here and pay in cash. It's like,
yeah, that also kind of sets up Dom's character, right? Like, oh, this guy's a guy before the race scene even begins. It also shows that Harry's a super big pushover because Brian walks all over him. I need 2 of these by tonight. And then Dom's like, oh, you're fired, Harry's. Like, he has that much, or he thinks he has that much pull.
And he would have if Brian wasn't an undercover cop, which never is explained. That he never he it's, I don't even. He's like, did he think anything was funny or something like that? And he was like, no. What did I gotta tell him, Brian? And just good hard work is hard to find or whatever. It's just like it was just like an unbelievable. None of it. I just like it was. And then, like I think for me, one of my favorite besides Streets Close Pizza Boy or besides like that, like one of my favorite like moments is the triad when we first meet Johnny and Lance.
Yeah. Oh, so that's right after the car scene. So
Yeah.
or the
Do we want to
racing
go to the
scene.
car? Do we want to do any car scene stuff? Do we want to talk about like?
Yeah, well, let's continue. Let's continue with the story first. Like right after the race scene, obviously Dom wins. Brian, pink slips for his car. So winner owns his car. He owns Dom a 10-second car. Cops show up. Leon tells everyone to get the fuck out of there. They get out of there. Dom stores his car somewhere. Cops see him walking down the street. Brian pulls up out of nowhere in an alleyway, picks him up, and they race out of there. And that's where that picks up when they end up in what was it? Little Saigon,
Which
is where they end up. And then that Johnny Tran and his cousin Lance, all on like crotch rockets, pull up with leather pants, snakeskin pants, and that's when that whole car blows up because they come back, shoot it. And then he's like, "Oh, we got a 20-mile hike. What happened between you and Johnny?" And so that's when we get to the Toretto house behind me, and then that's when the party scene is. But to go back to Johnny Tran and his cousin Lance, the weird fuck.
So
go
intense.
ahead.
Lance is always so intense.
So intense. Lance has killed so many people.
So many people. They pull over into like what looks like the front of some sort of like Asian restaurant for no reason, like other than like racism. Like there's no other reason. And then they do like this whole shot of like Confucius, this whole sculpture, like to build this thing as like Asian things are happening, and like that's the whole reason they do that scene.
It's a different time.
Totally, it's like 2000 too.
It really is like, hey, these guys are gonna be Asian. That's basically it. That's
and territorial.
But it's also it's like the whole like sequence of like I wish I organized my notes better, because there's like a whole sequence of like, how old is Johnny? Like how old is he? I don't
old enough to have a little sister that Dom fucked.
Like, so this is what this is. That's all what this is about. Like, are they triads? Like, is his dad part of a gang too? It's just, it was so
I don't know, because they're Vietnamese, right? Because the Little Saigon.
Yeah.
So triad's Chinese. So again, that could just be Hollywood throwing Asian cultures together and thinking it's all in
probably
the
in the year 2000. Yeah, we know what their stance is at the beginning of the movie, just dropping F words, and not the, I guess it's not called the F word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anti-LGBTQ words. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah. So to continue the story from that, we go to the party at the house.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal scene.
Yeah, it's amazing because again, it sets up the whole family. It sets up the whole gang. It shows that Dom's sister is super into Brian. She gets ready. She puts on makeup. She quits doing her homework. You think shit's gonna pop off between him and Vince with the beer sharing, and Dom's power over Vince is just like, nah, you're gonna chill.
Vince is phenomenal in this scene.
Unbelievable. When they don't show the drugs, but there's so many drugs everywhere. There's for sure people doing heroin in somewhere in that house.
There's a lot of people at that party. For him just to go upstairs,
to just hang out. Now, like that, he just doesn't. I think he just, like, everyone respects me. I'm the Michael Jordan of undercover street racing.
That's also the birth of Letty and Dom's relationship for the viewer, because at first we see them in the market, and she's just like, "You want a drink?" He's like, "Oh, whatever, I got one." And so we don't know that like they're a thing. It just looks like she's interested in him. And
Yeah.
so at the party is the first instance of us seeing that. Yeah, we saw her get jealous when in the racing scene about the skanks around, but you don't really think it's much. You just think she's kind of hovering.
See,
Then
I
you actually
disagree.
you actually see Dom like interested on the other side, like interested in Letty for the first time, because she has sway with him, because she's like, no, fuck you, let's go upstairs and give me a massage. And that was like, okay, well, maybe he's into this too. And so I mean, we don't get confirmation of that until the date scene, because that's where the whole backstory of the gang came to be, right? That she lived down the street.
That's right. Which I just want to pause on that for a second. So the party scene, it's kind of dressed the part. We kind of dressed the party scene up a little bit. People doing heroin, people doing coke on one side,
Gun on
cronies
table.
everywhere, on the table. There's a gun. There's a pistol on a table covered in smoke, so people can just smoke cigarettes indoors.
Jesse's a virgin.
And this is the best part, is that Jesse's just like dry humping this chick in the middle of the party next to the dining room table where there's like pizza and snacks. You know, who's eating pizza when they're on coke? Nobody. So there's just like this whole scenario where there's all these snacks that are unattended to. People are doing lines of cocaine and planning their next bank heist. And fucking Jesse's dry humping this chick, and then he gets yelled at by Dom. And then he says, you can't detail the car with the covers on. And then he snaps him out of it. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go fuck this chick somewhere else.
What was that, like the first like racing themed quote? Like,
yeah, I wish. Wait, that's a great. If we find more racing themed quotes throughout this series, we should put them in.
But this was like forced.
This was tough.
Like the first. Yeah, this was like okay. Let's calm down. Just talk to like a human being.
I felt like they just did like stereotypical shots, like with the gun of like, these people are bad. You're at a drug house, like that. We're just trying to like do the most. Like it was like 2000. It looked so 2000.
It
like,
was
everything. The music too.
Yes, I can hear it now in my head.
The music was all over the place. It was like industrial house meets grunge.
Do we want to do our pros and cons with the plot now as we go along through the story?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so in that scene, Brian mentions, hey, we have a 20-mile hike, or right before that scene, the party scene in Little Saigon. So actually, I looked this up last night. Little Saigon is in Westminster, in Orange County. So that's why I'm confused where the fuck the race was and how far they got away from LA. Westminster's like 37 miles away from downtown Los Angeles, which is kind of where Echo Park is. So for him to say, one, how the fuck did we get lost in an alleyway and it went for 37 miles? Two, we have a 20-mile hike. Way the fuck off. You're a cop. You should know this. Three, you get out of the cab at the party and you're walking home. Use the fucking cab, guy. It's there.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're at cash and it's 2000 and they'll take Venmo or card or whatever, those things don't exist.
But he just he had all that cash. Somebody had all that. This is so confusing.
Well, Hector had the money. He didn't. Did Hector give him the money after? He might have had it in his jacket. I think maybe he did. So maybe he paid it off with his winnings, but then Dom wasn't cool enough to be like, oh, I want to pay for your cab home.
What I'm confused about is, what the fuck time did they race? Like I could never, because think about it. The pizza place was ordered.
10,
pizza
probably.
was ordered in the year 2000. Okay, which means it's probably 9:30, 10 p.m. There weren't establishments that were at the latest. There weren't establishments in the year 2000 that were open past 11. That were open past 10:30.
Well, think of that whole road that they took up for the race.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
All those shops.
It looked like Silver Lake. I have never seen Silver Lake that empty. Yeah. Even in the pandemic, it's still people. There's no way. And then there is also like it's like presumably what, like 2-3 mile race. There's like that many people.
Quarter mile.
2 miles.
Is a quarter.
LA. Just
but and also if you're gonna race, if you're gonna illegally street race, do you think the best idea is pick vibrant colors and then pick like lights on the bottom of it that let you know like where you're gonna go next. Like it doesn't like no matter like that never. I just don't understand why not all just pick black. Like
Well, you can see it like in their clothing choices. Leather everything, leather pants.
leather.
Like they're just loud.
I
you know?
loved it.
All
I
of
mean,
it's loud.
all of these people are
So-
orgy people. Like they're all gonna fuck
Continue
together in
continue
leather
with the
pants.
story. What Dom's sister? I'm forgetting her name right now. Jordana
Mia.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Mia, yeah, Jordana Brewster's character. Comes downstairs. She's all dressed up. She's all like suited up for this guy. She's like, "Oh, I'm interested in this guy." He puts his arm around her and is like, "You need a shower." And she asks for a drink, just something cold. Brian gets her a Snapple.
Snapple.
What the fuck, dude?
I thought
Is this
that
your
too.
first time?
But see, okay, also, before she's doing homework, it's never articulated whether she's in college
Or high school. Yes.
So I'm like, maybe she's 16, and that's just, they're like, Snapple.
Which
She's-
is that? Go ahead,
She's
John.
working during the day at Toretto's.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. She's probably in college. It would make sense that she is in college.
I hope to God she's in college.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, it
Let's
wouldn't
see
make
that.
sense, but it's Hollywood. I don't know. JFK, you know how Hollywood is. JFK. What else happens? Oh, I think we find out he's a cop after that scene.
Yeah, right after that he gets pulled over downtown, and then he gets
The
taken
next
to
day.
that
It's the
Hollywood
second
Hills
act. It's the
mansion.
beginning of the second act, I
Mhm.
think.
It's
Which is
the-
crazy to put that in the second act.
To find out that he's an undercover cop in the second act
Yeah.
is nuts.
I think it's brilliant
I think. Wait, okay. Explain why you think it's brilliant.
because, like I said, all these scenes set up the entire world. You see the characters, you see what they're involved in, you see what kind of effect they have on the world around them. You see what they're all about. You see where they work. You see who they are. You see everything. You see the relationships between them, and then you expect Brian just to be another guy in that crew. And then all of a sudden, like I said earlier, everything gets flipped on its head. And it's like, oh shit, this isn't just a racing movie. This is like some guy trying to infiltrate the street racing scene. And that's
John,
what makes it the best part about it.
It takes them 35 minutes to do that.
Genius.
It shouldn't take them 35 minutes to do that.
No, because you're like, all of it is so entertaining. You're enthralled with everything. Like we just talked about with the pants, the cars, they're all loud, they're all vibrant, they're all quick, they're fast. People are dangerous at the party. You're like, holy shit, what kind of world is this? And then Brian's not who we thought he was.
See, I think they made a mistake. I think they were writing it, and then 35 minutes in, when they started doing the second half, they're like, oh, fuck, we forgot Brian's a cop. We got to get a scene in there where they find out he's a cop.
No. So okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. This is one of the biggest plot cons I had. This entire story is Point Break. They
Yeah,
stole the whole thing from Point Break.
definitely.
All
You
of
could-
this.
You could see that. But
Point
like,
Break does the same thing.
you find out he's an undercover cop 35 minutes. There's no way.
No, it's not that. But they set everything up.
Right. No, I mean, it's like, I get it. It's Point Break in the sense that there's an undercover cop infiltrating. But what I'm saying, it's so crazy.
I mean, how many movies have you seen where the twist is like an hour in?
But this isn't a twist, John.
Yeah,
This
it is
is
because
basic information.
we were sold something, and it's not that at all.
So are you saying, hold on, I never thought of it that way. Are you
The
saying
twist.
that
It's a
it's
plot
twist?
twist.
That's a
Yes.
plot twist that he's a cop. If it's a plot twist, John, then it's fucking electric.
It's amazing because
Hold
I
on.
remember watching all the previews for this movie, and it just looks like a straight up streetcar racing movie in LA.
So
You're like-
so it's a plot twist. You saw
It's
the
a
trailers.
plot twist, man.
Huh.
No one knew this guy was going to be a cop. And then you go back, and then you go back, and then the very first scene makes sense again, because you're like, oh shit, he's trying to solve that, because that has no context until Brian's a cop.
That's
We just saw that
It really
opening
doesn't.
scene. We just saw that opening scene, and we're like, what the fuck is that all about? Because then we just like are thrown into Dom and Brian's lives.
because then you think that he's going to be part of the crew that steals shit, and then so in the marketing of it, I did not know, and
Yeah.
that makes total sense. And now,
Like I said,
I
plot
love.
twist.
So you're saying it's a twist? I'm kind of in on that, like because
And And then
I
that
didn't see
Hollywood
it. I
Hills.
don't remember the trailers.
Yeah, and then that Hollywood Hills home, like where the
Hilarious.
cops are like
Hilarious.
just are stationed for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
But never explained why. Who has the budget for renting a house in the Hollywood
It's
Hills?
the FBI too.
It's the FBI.
And then my favorite part is like the FBI is worried that these truckers are going to go rogue. Like, who are these?
Well, first off, I mean, if you want to rewind, I have issues with the very opening scene. I'm just like, why is the trucker just not stopping? Like, why do you keep going? You have all these construction workers, just stop there, and you have all these witnesses to someone trying to rob your truck.
That's one of the things that we don't that is like like the FBI's fear of the truckers going rogue is one of the best parts of this movie, because he says so many things. He says things like, "What do you want me to do?" Like it's like he's talking to the lead trucker, and the lead trucker is like, "Hey, listen, there's only so much we can take before we start shooting back." And it's like one of those things where it's so funny to hear this FBI agent here like say, like, I heard back from these truckers that they can only take so much and they're going to start killing these guys. It's so strange. It makes no sense. Like, out of
Nothing at
nowhere.
You know how easy it would have been for all these trucking companies just to hire a $10 an hour guy with a gun and put him in like shotgun? Problem solved.
Also, it's so funny to me that this FBI agent is taking this truck thing so seriously. I mean, he's clearly the lowest on the totem pole if they gave him the truck driving FBI case.
Well, and they never explain what they're stealing too.
Never.
Like, they never explain what what's on the trucks, why they're there. There's no explanation.
Not the quantity, not how much it's worth. It's not, that information is not important. It's just important as the FBI wants to stop it, or else the truckers will have their day. That's all. It's like, it's so crazy to me to keep hearing like, hey, listen, the truckers are upset. They're going to start fucking killing people. It's like, it makes like, what power do these truck drivers have?
No one cares about truckers that much.
Like he doesn't explain it. The truckers union, it doesn't make any sense to me. And like, it's like, what are you going to start doing? Running Honda Civics off the road? Like, it doesn't.
How easy would it have been to do that? It's just super, they weigh like 1,500 pounds. I mean, we saw in the last scene of the whole movie how easy it was to flick them off the road.
Yeah. Which we will get to. So where are we now?
So we're after Brian gets arrested, and I think the next scene is he rolls up. He rolls up with a truck, a tow truck, and he has this 10-second car.
He has the 10-second car, right?
He brings it, yeah.
And he's like, hey, and him and Brian are becoming fast friends, or Dom and Brian are becoming fast friends. He's learning about the crew. Vince hates him. Leon, who I had no idea that was his name, who's obviously just on like so many drugs.
My favorite.
But they never explain why Vince hates him either. Like, I guess it's to be
just on
make
Mia.
him suspicious. Oh, I guess yeah.
He was in love with Mia.
But he didn't like him before then, right? Before even he met Mia, before she even came down, before she's in that scene, he starts being like, "Why? Why did you go to?"
No. At the market, they get in a fight.
They get in the fight at the market because Mia he grabbed in the most elaborate old actor Hollywood style school of acting ever. He grabs Jesse by the back of the head and turns his head and goes, "Look, tuna boy," and then he goes after him. And he's like, "Get yourself an order of fat burger for $2.95 or whatever." And then they get into that, and then he gets into that fight, which hilarious left punch.
And then Leon's like, "I love this part."
Yeah. Because he was jealous automatically. Because remember, Jesse and Leon, Jesse goes, "He's beautiful," and he puts on glasses and
love his haircut.
Yeah, and then Dom goes, "What you put in that tuna sandwich?" She's like, "Dom."
It's amazing, all of it. It's so good.
Okay, so we know that Vince loves Mia. We know that Vince loves Mia. One of my favorite scenes is coming up. But the whole movie premise of this is...
Well, so after he rolls up with a truck, they check the car. They say it's a piece of shit. They pop the hood. The engine is like super expensive. They're like, okay, we're gonna redo this car. We're gonna make this shit nice, but we need the best line reading of the whole movie is when Jesse's like, we need overnight parts from Japan. It was amazing. And so they're like, okay, 15 grand, throw in the car. Then you also get context of like, oh, they fucking have money. So
I don't
before
think,
we can't connect them to the robberies. We don't know as them. We just know that they drive. We don't know the civics. We don't know where they're from. But we do know now that they have 15 grand to throw around with that market and street racing money or whatever it is. And so just like that, he's like, okay, we can build this car up. If you can't find a tool in this garage, you don't belong around a car. And so he tells Brian, that's Brian's entrance into the whole gang, is like, you work here now when you're not working at Harry's. And then Mia confirms that with like, he owns you now. And so that's
hold on.
essentially his entrance into all of this.
I'm so confused because I thought the FBI was fitting the bill for everything because with the NOS and it was like 10. I thought the whole thing. I was like, this is a $25,000 operation to stop truckers from killing people who.
I feel like we watched separate movies because in was it Fast 4? It's the one where Dom comes back. I think it's Fast 4. Brian has to pick a racing car, and he has access to all these impound lots. And he's like, I want that one, and that one. So he picks all these imports and he pieces them together. So essentially what he did with the FBI is he's like, I owe this guy a 10-second car. Can you look in all these impound lots for essentially an import car, Japanese racing car? And he finds one that he likes. And obviously he goes to this is off scene. He goes to the impound lot. He finds one with a really good engine. And he was like, oh, I want this shit towed to Dom's Toretto's garage.
You saw this all
will
happened?
help me. No. This is off scene. This is what I'm assuming happened.
This is happening in his
shut
mind.
the fuck up.
No.
What are you talking about?
No, because that engine is super rare, which Dom confirms, obviously, because these guys are all gearheads. How does Brian find that car with that engine without the help of the cops?
I think he gets the FBI to buy the engine and put it in the shitty car.
No. It was like a piece of shit. He had access to impound lot computers, got the car, put it on a tow truck, and brought it to them.
Damn, John, you're connecting the dots and making this movie like function in a way I didn't think it was possible. That kind of makes sense to me.
Because they show that in, like I said, in F4, Brian needs a race car, but he doesn't have one. And so he pieces one together using impound lot computers, and he like finds 3. The lady's like, which one do you want? He's like, I want all of them. And then that's when they throw them all together.
The issue is, John, they show that 3 movies later.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm using that to solve this. So, like, obviously the writing was very shitty during the first one because it didn't tell us that. Or I don't know if there's a director's cut that we didn't see.
I'd watch it in a heartbeat.
But, obviously. But, like, so they showcase that. And so you can kind of you can kind of assume that that's what's happening on the back end that we're not being shown.
I mean, I just assumed that they had bought the engine and put it in but it makes sense because Brian obviously knows a good deal about cars, which is why he's picked for the whole mission of stopping DVDs being stolen from truck drivers.
They reference him going to juvie too, right?
Yeah, but I thought
that's why I figured they picked him.
But I thought that was like a fake thing that they put into, because his real name's not Brian Earl Spillner.
That's true. They don't explain that. But I mean, it couldn't be.
Because he looked all like broody.
Well, remember that the Jesse who's qualified for MIT could find anything on the internet. So we don't know if the cops were successfully able to get that off the internet or not.
Hilarious. Jesse, the only thing that makes him feel like a person is putting an engine together in a car.
So like I was saying, that's the entrance in for Brian, is he pulls up in this super fucking expensive, used to be super expensive car, now very expensive, just the engine. And it's going to be a complete car with just another 15 grand. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, no. So I totally whiffed on that. You're right. That's happening. Off scene. It just should happen on
You
scene.
have to kind of make that assumption.
Yeah, you're right. We got to connect the dots as the viewer. The movie should not connect the dots for us.
No.
Okay.
12-year-old John was not thinking like this. This is like all in the last 3 years.
Okay, so we get the car. And then where are we at? Where are we after that? After
The
the car?
barbecue.
The barbecue, the family theme once again. We're hit with an unbelievable moment. Full disclosure, I got a buddy, one of my best friends in the whole wide world. Anytime someone touches food before anybody else, he goes, you gotta say grace. He loves Toretto with all his heart. He is unbelievable, but you gotta say grace. There's a prayer. Then he gets upset. Because he sees the Buster and comes back later to eat food because he realizes there's nowhere to go and he has no money because he's a fucking criminal. And he eats food. Then they rent a movie, which is so not on brand to the type of stuff. But they have family night. This is my favorite scene. My second favorite scene is this scene that's coming up. And I guess I'll just say the favorite quote while we're doing it, just because it makes absolutely zero sense. So Vince comes in, warms up the popcorn. Brian is washing dishes with Mia, and Vince says something like, "Why don't you wash my car after this?" Mia says, "Excuse me." He goes, "I wasn't talking to you, Mia. I was talking to Princess over there. After you done washing the dishes," just like a very sexist line. It's just like unbelievably crazy thing to say.
No, he was like, "No, I'm talking to the Buster." Not talking to you. But she
No, I know.
assumes.
Right. No, but I'm saying regardless, it's still sexist. Like, why don't you put a dress on and wash my car, yada, yada, yada. And then Mia steps in to save Brian and says to Vince, what is that restaurant you wanted to take me to? And then he says, the one with the wooden tables and the red candles.
The plantain on the sign.
What's up?
There was a plantain on the sign. She mentions that.
Oh,
And
I
the
thought you said
plantains.
the one with the little red tables.
No, the little plantains.
Damn it. We should have put the subtitles on. Because I thought he was like the one with the little red tables and the little red candles. We did? Oh. And then he goes, cha-cha-chas. It was just like it was just a crazy way to I thought it was the one with the wooden tables with the little red candles. I thought
So that was a real place, by the way.
What?
Up till 2016, it was closed recently and demolished.
John, tell us about it. This is beautiful.
Yeah, so in 2016, some gentrifying asshole bought the property, demolished it. It had been there for like 20, 30 years. But there, if you look online, there's a bunch of fans that went to this cafe. It's called Cha Cha Cha's Cafe or something like that. It was, I think, in Silver Lake also. Yeah, so it's demolished now because I was looking to go to it like in 2018.
Yeah.
And that's why I found out about it. And so it was a real bummer.
But hold on. But the description is there's little wooden tables and little red candles.
Yeah, you can still see the interior on Google. Go to Google Maps. It's still like
any restaurant.
That's any restaurant, though.
That's any restaurant has.
No, but it's a little Cuban restaurant. That's what she says. The little Cuban restaurant.
No, but at the end
she does say Cuban.
Oh, she says Cuban at the beginning. I thought she said Cuban at the end.
She does say what's the Cuban restaurant, I think.
Yeah.
And then he said the one with the little wooden tables and the little red candles. Bro, how many Cuban restaurants have you told her about? That's what I'm saying. And
they've known each other since like 6, probably. So
it's crazy to say. It's crazy to say the one with the little wooden tables and the little red. Yeah, yes. Cha-cha-chas? And she goes, yes, that's what I just thought it was so funny to hear.
Yeah. I mean, we know he's a moron now because he can't work the microwave and he can't remember this place.
Yeah, but the way he can work the microwave is bonkers.
Like,
down
he's
USA.
never seen a microwave in his life.
Like, he's either so poor.
All you gotta do is click plus 30 like 3 times and you're good.
But he didn't even. But that's what's so crazy is that's what you can't like. It's almost like he was born in prison, was raised in prison, and then got out that day. And that's why he doesn't know how to use a microwave. That's the only explanation to that.
That would explain why he's interested in Mia. It's the only other female around. He hasn't been around females in forever.
I mean, I do love the writing. I do think it's so funny. I do appreciate that they give us the clues of who these characters are in the most over-the-top fashion possible. It's just so funny to like you can be dumb, but and obviously he has a temper problem and he's dumb. Like that's clearly what it's trying to tell us. But to be so dumb that you've never used a microwave, like he shakes it and he goes, stupid thing, and he never even is on.
That's all on Dom. He's been like Dom's right hand man his whole life. Dom's over here running 2 businesses and running the underground street racing scene in Los Angeles, and he's a legend.
Well, maybe Dom's trying to get him to be better at it. Like this is his way of teaching him how to use a microwave.
Yo, be like the assistant.
Go up and get it.
All you can do is you're the assistant manager at Toretto's now.
There's no doubt in my mind, off script. That's what we're gonna use now. Off script. There's no doubt in my mind, off script, that Vince was like, "Hey Dom, can I get some popcorn?" And he was like, "Make it yourself." There's no doubt in my mind that happened. And then he's like,
"Well, that's one of our categories, right? Character that's only in this movie, but should have a spinoff."
Yes.
And so at this time, this is the only movie he's in. Could have had a spinoff.
This is true. I will say, for me, I wanted to see a Leon Vince, buddy cop or buddy movie of just like them figuring it out post Dom's life. That. Those two clearly Leon was on drugs. We know that. Leon. I
have on drugs. A big problem with Vince's character story arc at the end of this.
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
Him dying?
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it
when we get to it. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Okay. So we're basically. I mean, are we at Race Wars now?
No. So after this scene is when you see like a montage of all their cars driving down the same street.
Always.
And Brian's truck has a fuckload of car parts on it. It looks like a Mexican family is moving. I could say that I'm a Mexican. So it's just wild how much shit they put on this car. And like, they're all driving very fast. They're not even using specific lanes. They're all just driving where you can see them all.
Yeah.
Down the same street, same direction towards the camera. And I think it's one of the best parts of the whole movie because the Ja Rule song is playing over all of this. And it's like, life's awesome. This is amazing. Sun's out. Everyone's in their ride. Everyone's driving. Mia's in Brian's truck. So, they're starting to establish some, rapport there. And Ja Rule's blasted. This is great. This is the best part of the movie.
It's the year 2000, baby.
Yeah, and it's the year 2000. And so, like, Y2K didn't happen. We're all live. Everything still works. It's great.
I love that scene. I think it's so funny because, like you were explaining, they're all driving in a flying V formation. And
yes.
But like they all could have just like taken 2 cars.
That's what I was gonna mention. Going to the barbecue, everyone's driving their own car, and Vince is like, was it Vince or Leon who calls us Jesse? Jesse, I'm sticking in 3rd gear. You gotta talk to me, man, or like something like that. And then they pop the hood on his car just before they walk into the backyard, and I'm like, yo, dude, just get 1 car. How much gas are all these guys wasting? Like, it's
crazy.
And it's Los Angeles, man. Parking's hard to come by.
Thank you, John. That's something that we don't talk about as the moviegoer experience. As people who have been to Los Angeles, parking in Los Angeles is such a pain in the ass. And also, like, I don't know what they're stealing. I mean, I'm obviously assuming they're stealing car parts. I don't know anymore. It could be DVDs. It could be a plethora of different shit. But it can't be like in the quote unquote black market or the third market or whatever it's called. It can't be like making them that much money because obviously Toretto's is used to launder the money. I'm just assuming Dom's smart enough to launder. This is
still that era where it's electronics. It's just electronics.
But the items can't even be that big because they don't have that much space in their cars. They didn't bring, like, when they get away, they don't bring something to carry it with. They're just carrying it in their Honda Civics.
They take the whole truck.
I love this fucking movie so much.
They stole the whole truck.
They stole the big rig?
Yeah, they took it all. At the very first scene, they drive off with it in like formation with the Civics.
But how? They put it on wheels?
No,
No,
the
they just
guy
drove it.
they do take it. Yeah, they take. Because
Oh, they
remember
take
have.
over, like they take over and the guy drives it. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. So they do take the truck. They obviously have a garage for it. I don't know if they're working with Johnny and Lance. Shout out to Lance's leather pants. Still to
So
this day, unbelievable.
I'm gonna rewind a little bit to
Let's do it.
my favorite. So I'm just gonna say it's my favorite scene is the opening scene. It's the best part of I think the whole movie because it establishes the excitement and the driving skill that we're about to expect. And the neon green lights under the Civics is nothing I've ever seen before. You know, in a movie, like at the time, obviously. We saw it throughout this whole series. But then it was like, oh, this is the coolest fucking thing. You put like a light underneath your car and make it glow a specific color. This is amazing. And then when like whoever it was, I want to ask your opinion about this. Whoever it was that put their Civic underneath the car when they went into that one lane construction area, that was wild. That was just like, okay, this is to go along with the previews as I was mentioning. This is a really insane car driving movie. This is what we're going to expect. I don't think we'd ever seen a car maneuver on film that did that. I don't think you could put a car underneath a 18-wheeler like that. And so I think it establishes everything that you should, or at least what we thought we'd expect in 8 movies. Now we know it's not really a racing series, but
once again, let's see. This is what I want to say. I think that the foundation for every single Fast movie was built in one.
yes.
Because family overall, they never strayed away from their pillars.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you there.
What's up?
I disagree with that.
Family?
Yeah.
All right.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I disagree with that based on the one quote that we all know. Here's the quote. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters. Not the mortgage, not the store, not my team, and all their bullshit. Dom didn't give a fuck about anybody but himself. He cared about that 10 seconds, that quarter mile at a time. That's all he cared about. And so that was one of the issues I was going to raise. For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free, is what he says. Not my team and all their bullshit. Family was nothing to him at this point. This is how we know he grows into a better human as the series goes on, because then we start seeing he cheers Salud Mi Familia throughout the whole fucking series, right?
Yeah.
When he comes back in the 4th movie, he starts doing that. I think he grew because he lost at the end of this movie. He lost his home. He lost his family.
But let me say this:
the whole gang's fucked up after this movie.
Yes, Leon died of an overdose. This is true. I don't off script. That's definitely what happened.
Off scene.
But this is what's I see what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. But I will say there are moments, right? There are moments where I think that was what released the tension for him, because he got to be. It was just him and the whip. It was him and his ride, and he was able to like be free at the end of the movie, which we will get to. I mean, he's got no choice but to be on the run. Like my favorite, so crazy, this fucking movie. My favorite scene in the movie, and this is what I mean by the foundations were put together, right? Like they're always together. Dom was always responsible for everybody. So like that family foundation, and I agree with what you're saying. But also it was the elaborate set pieces. Like the ride or die-dom was there, and then the elaborate set pieces, like the first opening, stealing of the truck at the end of the movie when they're trying to take another truck, and Vince is on the truck and he gets caught and he has to jump to the passenger side door, and the truck driver's shooting him, and Dom is driving like, I don't know, 200 miles per hour, I'm assuming, or 180, right? Like, oh no, it's next to a truck, driving like whatever. It just feels like
65.
they're going so, yeah, which is only 65 miles per hour, but still super fast. And Vin is like hanging on, and Dom is like, grab my hand, like those elaborate set pieces. Then Brian shows up out of nowhere.
The stunt work is amazing.
The stunt work, that's what I'm saying. It's still like that. Those are at its core why I love Fast and the Furious so much, is the loyalty, and the like the nonsense, the elaborate set pieces, like Brian jumping off the truck after saving Vince, and driving onto the Toyota Supra while a truck driver is shooting him with a sawed-off shotgun because he doesn't want his DVDs taken. Like this to me is Fast and the Furious. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like we had mentioned earlier, it's the best, man. Like I'm looking way too deep into all of this.
No,
I'm
keep doing it.
I have 3 pages of notes on this movie
I love
based
it.
on like whatever I trying to fill in the holes. But going back to the story, I think we're at what they Mia starts dating Brian after
They go on the date.
whole kitchen scene.
Yes.
They go on the date, but before that, Brian starts investigating all the other teams. Like, so Hector's garage, Johnny Tran's garage. He sees Johnny Tran has 3 Civics in his garage in Little Saigon, which happens to be in Westminster, California, which is 40 miles away from wherever everything else takes place.
Yeah, Echo Park.
They find out that they see how far Johnny and his cousin Lance are willing to go to get the engines for their vehicles for race wars. That's one of the best. What are you thinking, Lance? 50 weight, 60 weight, and then they start pumping fuel into that guy's mouth. Ted,
Crazy.
poor Ted, random ass white guy. He's
It
probably
looked like the pizza boy.
yes. I was just gonna say he's probably the pizza
It
guy
looked like
from
the
the
same
beginning.
guy. I thought it was the same guy.
Oh, he's probably just like Brian, you had mentioned earlier, where it's just like some random dude on set. Hey, you. Come get like $2,000. We'll pump oil into your mouth real quick. And you probably wasn't oil, but so that happens, and then back to Dom's garage. They're working on the car together. He's like, "Don't break her heart. I'm gonna break your neck." And then they go on the date, and they end up together. He lives at Harry's. I don't know what she's thinking. They end their date. They go back to Harry's in the back, and that's where they're sleeping together. He gets a phone call saying, "Hey, based on the information you provided us, we're moving on Johnny Tran tomorrow at 1700." So they move on Johnny, or he goes to meet up with the team. They move on Johnny. And
Johnny's dad bitch slaps him.
Bitch slaps so hard, it's awesome. But it's a very, very Asian move to do that. They came in, they raided the house, they bombarded the house during dinner. Very disrespectful. And I don't know if you've ever dated anyone from the Asian culture, but that's not what you should be doing. I mean, everything, you can't even wear shoes into an Asian family's house. These guys were all wearing boots and had guns pointed with goggles and the whole gear setup. Drag Johnny out, and then I think this is when we move over to Race Wars, and that starts going somewhere in there. I think we skipped over Dom and Brian take a trip out to Neptune's Nest out in Malibu.
One of the best scenes.
Yeah, and so this is where the whole Point Break kind of comparison comes in, because this restaurant was also used in Point Break. This is where Keanu Reeves' love interest, Lori Petty, works, and he tries to get to know her.
Oh, that's right. Look
and
at that.
So that's how I made the comparison, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, yo, this is like that same plot, like almost, but just cars instead of surfboards and bank robberies and instead of truck heists or whatever. And so
DVD trucks.
They have that. Brian, yeah, exactly. And then Brian makes electronics. And Brian makes a request to be included in all of this. He's like, "Oh, I know you're not just fucking fixing cars and selling sandwiches and tuna sandwiches or whatever to finance all of this." And so Brian's like, "Yo, let me in. I want all of it. I work for my own. I'm able to help you."
And then we jump to Race Wars.
Then
let me stop here.
Dom's just like, "I'll see you at Race Wars. You'll prove yourself there," and that's where we'll kind of.
And that's the beginning of the third act. But let me just go back to the race. Let me go back to the Ferrari versus the Toyota Supra.
Yes.
Hands down, right? At one point, they're Ferraris at a red light with Brian and Dom and Toyota Supra. Brian looks over at the guy in the Ferrari and says, "What's that go for retail?" And then he says, "More than you'll ever make in your life, punk." And then Dom in his 2000 in his sunglasses that say the year 2000 more than anything could ever say besides his clothing. He says, "Smoke 'em," right? and then he just beats him off the line. Now I imagined, I know some car guys. I know some car guys. My buddy who loves Dom, who loves the series so much, is a big car guy. And I can imagine these car guys who have told their buddies over and over and over again, bro, a Toyota Supra souped up would rip a Ferrari. It would smoke a Ferrari, bro.
$15,000 underneath the hood. We know. They told us.
That scene was for those guys.
Yeah.
That scene was for those guys who said, dude, it's all about Subies, it's all about Supras, it's all about Eclipses, it's all about what the
Skyline.
Nissan, the
Spoiler in the
Skyline.
back.
They would smoke Ferraris, bro. And then the guys
With
like me who
the
were like, no, they
God
wouldn't.
going like this on the car. Like, oh,
Yeah. Just like I just imagined those guys watching those movies and be like, fuck, I told you. Fool.
They came at that point in the movie theater.
Told you, fool.
Yeah.
I love this scene when they're at the restaurant too, because he doesn't explain. He's like, "What is this?" And he's like slowly getting out of his pocket. He's like, "Directions." Like to race.
In the Inland Empire.
And like a race horse, like they couldn't have they just combined. They're like, "What do cars do? They race and like wars together," and that was it.
Oh, the name is the branding behind Race Wars. They should have started a race.
Is
Wars.
that a real place? I would have
It's
gone
like
to that in my
Burning
20s.
Man. I feel like Juggalos would belong there.
Ooh.
Yes.
I feel like they fit in.
Well, at the beginning of Race Wars,
Never mind.
Jesse, I love the use of pinks too. Like they don't say pink slips; they're racing for pinks, Dom. I love that it's just like an event where people just like race, and then it kind of turns into Burning Man at night where there's fire everywhere and there's like industrial house playing and like people are obviously doing, huh?
Orgy people
obviously all fucking in a small Celica. Like there's a group of 4 people, 5 people just fucking in cars. It's like a strange thing.
I mean, the 5 of them only have that Airstream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they were just like chilling, like it was Coachella, or like it was Desert Days. It was just like this unbelievably weird psychedelic, like grouping accoutrement thing of just like industrial house, psychedelics, car guys.
There was
And
light
then-
shows.
Yeah, with light shows, it was like a rave. It was so strange. But there was at one point Jesse races for pinks, which is, I mean, Jesse is just.
He wanted to get his dad a ride before he got out of prison.
which they never mentioned before, right?
Never.
That's the first time he's like, and
Never.
he doesn't even bring it up. Brian's like, "Oh, your dad's gonna go back to prison for killing you after this."
Yeah.
And they mention it later, like Dom's like, "I'm all he has," but they never
Best
articulated
scene.
prior.
That's my favorite scene.
Well, and then like the
Yeah.
window rolls down on the guy who's driving it. It's the S2000 Honda, and it's Johnny Tran, and he's like, I bet he has 80 grand underneath that car. How Johnny Tran made it out of prison like real quick after that, and then got out there,
I forgot about
I don't know. But if he has 80 grand underneath the hood of the car, he could probably afford like a private plane or a helicopter wherever they were.
It was, I just, none of it made sense. And so Jesse races the Honda 2000, a legendary car when you were our age. When you were 9 years old, 10 years old, and this movie came out, it was a legendary vehicle. I remember thinking to myself, like, maybe one day I'll have a Honda 2000. I also thought it was like a fake car at a certain point. I was like, I've never heard of this Honda 2000. I had no idea what it was. I just knew it was fast. And,
Small and light.
yeah, so obviously Johnny blows by Jesse. Jesse has a fucking panic attack. For whatever reason, like,
Mental health.
yeah, he was just like, my ADHD was kicking in, and he just kept driving. And then Johnny pulls up to the Airstream, and then Johnny accuses Dom of being a snitch. And this is when we
No. He's gonna be a narc.
a narc, excuse me. And Dom beats the fuck out of him, which basically seals Jesse's fate. Or it's like on top of Jesse fleeing the scene, or whatever. And
Well, and Letty and Lance
yeah.
also. That was the best part. She
And
just
so
clocks it clean. It was awesome.
And so they're freaking. Dom and Leon and Vin are all freaking out, and then they go and like, we're gonna go do a job, which they leave at night, but they don't get there until day. So it leads me to believe that they're, I don't know, where are they? Arizona? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
Well, so the where it was filmed in San Bernardino is the airport that this was filmed at. They go get their cars, which are at a water tower somewhere, which I'm assuming is somewhere out there between LA and Arizona. Because, I mean, if you're looking for wanted Honda Civics in unison, they're all there. So it's got to be somewhere no one's looking. And your water tower, it's got to be in a community nearby, because what the fuck are you putting a water tower in the middle of nowhere for? So all of it's a little puzzling. And so, yeah, you were saying.
I think they filmed out on the way to Vegas. Like, you know, when you drive out to Vegas, there's like that stretch of, or there's like that one, Route 66.
Yeah.
Where everything's like symmetrical. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. So like if you're like living in California and you're listening to this and you're not from California, all this shit's all over the place. Like it just doesn't make, like, going back to Little Saigon, Echo Park. It's just like all over the place.
But I just don't even understand why Jesse's freaking out so hard. Like,
because he just lost his car.
No, I know, but
it's his dad's car who's in prison.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, it was his dad. So Jesse's not. It's not even his car.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's in prison, he'll have time to get it back.
No, he's getting out.
But when they didn't articulate that.
I think it was pretty soon, so him and his dad could have like a car to ride together. I'm assuming it's soon.
This is madness. He has ADHD, and he was just like supposed to belong in. It's just like he just freaks out and drives off, and he just panics so hard.
He went to the car wash, dude.
He panics so hard, and then Dom and Jesse got to do this job out of like they're just like, we got to get money, and we got to do this job because I think because of Jesse and
I think they had it scheduled for them to know a truck's going to be out of the middle of nowhere. They have to have a source. They have to have a source,
which is probably a truck driver on the inside. What
the very first scene we hear a guy off the boat. Hey, this is coming there. That's their source. But for them to know that truck's going to be in the middle of fucking nowhere outside of LA is like wild.
Madness. It's madness. It's unbelievable. And so that's when the famous, like, Mia, I'm a cop. Brian has to tell Mia she's a cop. Mia hates him. He goes, hey, you got to let me, he convinces her to help him. He convinces her to, he'll help him. And they're on their way. And then this is where vintage, at this point now, it's vintage Fast and the Furious. This is what we know the best of.
Let me stop you there. So this continuation. So I paused my favorite scene at the very beginning of the movie. I want to know who was driving on it, because I was going to ask these guys this question. Who drove the car that went underneath the semi at the beginning of the movie? Because it's either Jesse or no, hold on. It's either Jesse or Leon, because once they're picking up the cars for the last job, Dom says to Letty, I need you on the left side this time. She doesn't drive normally.
Oh.
So who is the one driving the car that goes underneath? Because we know the lead car is Dom with Vince jumping out, right?
Yeah.
And so the middle car is the one that went underneath. And then the last car, we don't know, obviously, either. It's either Jesse or Leon. Who was the one that drove underneath the truck?
It's got to be Leon. I want to put in a small guess that it's also me. I just want to throw that in there because that would be crazy.
No, she didn't go with him on this job, so I'm assuming she just doesn't participate.
I like Mia. Because if Leon for sure ODs off scene, so he's going to be too shaky to be able
to. No, but he's talking about like in the beginning of the movie.
But he's probably already downward spiraling, right? He's already shaking. He's just a little shaky, and then Jesse's too ADD. That was like swift.
No, I think Leon's too calm throughout the movie for that. He sees his best friend about to fight someone. He's like, "No, I'm chilling and eating chips."
That's true. Leon's kind of got, it was probably Leon.
But he doesn't hate Brian. He likes his haircut.
There you go. Leon kind of.
So I mean, that's what I'm asking. Like, who do you think it was driving under the truck? I think it's Leon, but it could have been Jesse.
I thought it was Letty up until this. So you convinced me that it's Leon.
I hope it's Mia. I know it's not.
I
but
think
I hope it's
feminism.
Mia.
she did prove that she's a little crazy after the date where she's like, "Can I drive?" And then Brian lets her drive, and she goes a little nuts. So it
She
could be.
grew up with Dom, their dad. The car he's afraid of. It makes sense. It's not out of the
All right.
realm.
But their
So-
dad dies because of driving. I think she would want to stay away from that.
Can't
But maybe she's like secretly the best.
get away from
Well,
the life.
they ignored it for 8 movies, unfortunately.
Can't get away from the life. Okay, so then we've talked about the elaborate set piece before. Vinny on the truck, Brian jumps off, and then the acting that Vin Diesel provides in the last 2 scenes should have, like, it was fantastic. It was so good when Brian pulls out the phone. He was like, "We got a man down, officer." Blah 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 blah. He says the name.
Mile marker, yeah.
The look in Vin Diesel's eyes was fantastic. It was, if I had an Oscar vote, I would have given him my Oscar vote. It was incredible how intense it was. He looked at him like he wanted to murder him. He looked at him like he was betrayed, like his wife had just slept with another man.
Yeah, when that revelation hits his face and Brian's like, "Officer, blah, blah, blah," and it just gives all these numbers out in the mile marker and like all the situation. And Brian's like assessing Vince and being like, "This is where he has a puncture. This is what he's bleeding out. He's going into shock." That whole time, Dom is like, or Vince, or, not Vince, Dom is just like amazing. Like the
It's
acting
the best. It's incredible.
is insane. He's not saying anything.
Now singing.
He's just portraying his face is just like fucking, like you said, so fucking good. Because he sells it completely. It's like, oh man, he's never wanted to murder someone more than he does now.
If you think that Vin Diesel is not a good actor, fuck you. This motherfucker brings it.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, he's very good here.
7 out of 8 times, John.
Yeah.
6? Is he in 6? 5. He's in 5 of them.
Oh, and on the movies? Oh, he's missed. He doesn't come back till 4.
Fuck.
So
Yo,
he's
it's
missed
kind of
2,
crazy
so
that
6 out of 8.
it's his. It's kind of crazy that it's his series, or it was. Now it's The Rock's. Thoughts and prayers, but it is kind of crazy that he misses. Basically, he's not in 2. He's not in 3. He comes back in what, 4? Or he comes back in 5?
4.
It's crazy. But all right, so let's get to the very end, which is, this is my favorite scene. This is my favorite scene.
Well, so Vince gets taken in the helicopter, and then my issue with that is he took part in the robbery. They know that. The FBI knows that because Brian is there throughout the robbery. Radios in, says, "Hey, this guy got shot." How does Vince get free to show up in Brazil in F5?
Because they're fucking on this crew.
Post bail bails or what?
I mean, maybe. I just think this crew is just, you can't even the worst part of the crew, Jesse. Yeah, I mean, they had to gun Jesse
these
down.
last
Jesse,
forever, by the way.
like the Coronas. This crew, you can't stop them. You know what I mean? Like Leon, the only reason Leon's dead is because he overdosed. Vince, off script. Vince fucking ended up. You can't stop these guys. They'll find a way. They're an unbelievable crew. This is like, I don't know. This is like I don't know.
How much time do you think passes between this scene and when they show back up in Echo Park?
I am curious because
Next day?
I don't know, because
They're 100 miles away.
it does. It like they just
It
Brian
feels like
shows
the
up.
same day.
Feels like the same
There's
day.
no way.
It
There's no way.
feels like
It's not.
the continuation.
Because
And that
Brian,
scene's so great because they're
It-
just like making eye contact with each other and get each other respect through like almost dying for that thing.
Yeah. To
What if-
your point, like Brian, also you had mentioned the night before everyone's partying, they go off to drive. They show up in the morning, maybe sometime in like 8 or 9 when first light is when they're doing the whole heist thing. Then maybe like around 3 or 4 is when they're back at the house in Echo Park.
I I will say one of my favorite things about this movie is Dom earning Brian's respect throughout, which is why it leads it to the very end. Because everything Dom does, Brian looks at him like respect. Like
Yeah.
anytime I like anything, the dealing with Mia, helping people out, every single opportunity, like Dom is doing something, Brian looks at him like, fuck, like that's respect, like respect, dude. And I do sincerely like that a lot. I think it's hilarious because like once again, he looks at him like he's falling in love with him. But my favorite scene is this scene. It's the culmination of everything. Dom is trying to find Jesse, even though he let Jesse go so he could try to steal a truck. But then he's like, I gotta find Jesse. I'm all he's got. Even though you left to steal DVDs and electronics, and
Gotta
now
keep
you
that
come.
party lifestyle up.
Yeah, now you're worried about him,
Yeah,
and
nobody checked in on him.
and then out of nowhere, Jesse just shows up. Like it's fucking
100,
insane.
again, 100 miles away.
Jesse just shows up at the perfect time, and he's like, Dom, I'm scared. And before that, there's like an amazing scene where Brian says to Dom, he goes, stop running. He goes, I'm not running. Talks about how he wants to save Jesse. Jesse shows up. Then this Mia comes out, and he's like, Mia, get inside. Pumps the shotgun. It's
Gets
like
shot,
this
like, right
intensity.
here.
He's fucking firing on all cylinders. You hear motorcycle come off in the distance. That's so loud. Everyone turns around. This weird Jaws-like edit, and it's lo and behold, it's motherfucking Lance with his leather goddamn pants and Johnny on a fucking Ducati rocking Uzis. I don't know if they had silencers. Flying through this neighborhood in Echo Park and start shooting way too early. And just there's so much time before they start shooting before they get to Jesse. But I don't know.
Amateurs.
They're trying to shoot Jesse. They just burst this Uzi, and then everyone gets down. Mia gets down. She's crying. Dom, not flinching, not missing a beat, just runs after Jesse to try to save him. And that's when I was like, family. And then he like runs and takes off, and Jesse gets Jesse dies.
Well, and Jesse like hides under a car and still gets hit, but like Dom just runs through the air. Like there's nothing blocking him, and he's totally fine.
He's the moneymaker. You can't kill him.
He bear crawls through bullets and takes Jesse. Jesse dies, and then they flag him down. they kill. Brian shoots after a long pursuit. Brian shoots one of the Lancer, whoever the fuck, and then Dom drives one of them off the road onto a deep hill. But now we get to the end.
But he also gets out of his car to check that he drove him off too,
which is hilarious.
which is a hilarious scene.
I had a question about that. Is Lance still alive?
I need it to be.
I hope so.
I need it
Lance
so
is
bad.
somewhere. I think he just like broke his shoulder or something, and he's fine.
He comes back in 9.
If somehow if we
With Leon.
I would love it. Nothing would make me happier if I saw Lance, and Lance was still rocking those leather pants, but he gained weight. It's been 20 years. Just fat Lance. And then at the end, they pull up.
Just like Bobby Lee.
Just get Bobby Lee. Quarter mile at a time, right? The great line. That's when he drops that line, right? A quarter mile at a time.
Yeah.
They
Used to race here in high school.
Yeah, I used to race here in high school. He fucking dominates that monologue. That monologue absolutely dominated by.
By the way, I don't know how he doesn't want to murder this guy, because one, he fucked his sister.
Yeah,
he lied to him. Dom fucked Johnny's sister, and it ruined a relationship, a business relationship. Brian fucked his sister, lied to his sister, broke her heart, lied to Dom, pretended not to be a cop, was a cop, fucked up this whole scene, and they're just like, let's race it out.
family.
Respect.
I don't know. It just was like, okay, well, how are you not just shooting this guy before he gets his car off? Windows open, bro. Kill him.
I'm so
Got
surprised.
the shotgun.
I'm so surprised that he doesn't have family tattooed on his bicep and respect on his other bicep. I'm so surprised.
We haven't seen him with his shirt off.
If this movie was created in the year 20, like any time past 2012, he would have had for sure tattooed.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, do you want to end the story and where he's just like they race and
Yeah. They race. And then who wins? Like nobody wins.
No.
that's a good question actually. I
Like
don't
when
know.
you look at it, I think
Tie.
I think it was a tie. And honestly, I think in that moment, I don't know if this is crazy enough as it is to say after Brian has fucked his sister, ruined his life, got one of his best friends murdered. You know, Leon is nowhere to be found, eventually going to overdose. Then he has been arrested, like ruined his whole life. And somehow he still manages to be like, this guy was kind of a good driver. And then he kind of like, he's like, yeah, like, all right. Like, I kind of respect you now.
That's why I'm saying, like, for that
all
quote,
that.
he's like, nothing else matters, not the team, not their fucking problems. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. Everyone else is fucked. Everyone else, Letty just rolled her car and is fucked sitting in the back seat of a Civic. Leon is the only one unharmed. Jesse's dead. Vince is in the hospital. Like, Mia's heartbroken. The whole team's fucked, and Brian did all of it. And he's just like, my arm, and Dom's arm's broken. Like,
Yeah.
the whole squad is fucked, and it's all because Brian got involved. And he's just like, I'll take your 10-second car now so I can escape the cops after you were the one that like brought them upon me.
What an
I don't
unbelievable
understand why there's 3 other seats in that car. Like he's like, oh, here's your 10-second car, go away. But Brian can't go with him. There's 3 other seats. I don't understand. They just leave him there.
I think Brian.
Well, so
has
that's
a
kind of
lot
taken care of in the. There's
yeah.
a there's
The
a
other one? I've only seen this.
there's a like 5-minute movie that goes from the end of this one to Too Fast, Too Furious. It shows how he ended up in Miami. It's like an interlude almost for like a music album, but it's like a very like 5-minute movie.
Because I mean, he just shot a guy in broad daylight in the previous scene. He killed Lance or the other guy.
Yeah, and then he asked other people to
Yeah.
call the cops.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He was
Which,
a cop.
which, if you know LA, that was shot in like Echo Park, and then they show up in Terminal Island, which is near Long Beach, which is 30 miles from each other. So hell of a chase scene, you know. That's in traffic. That's an hour and a half.
It was a whole fucking. This whole thing has been a journey. And then at the end, he gives them the car. He's like, which is a beautiful sentiment. There's no better way. It was just a beautiful sentiment of like,
Literally the least he could have done. I fucked your life up. Here's a car.
oh, you a 10-second car. Which, by the way, he's a police officer. He doesn't owe him anything. He did his job to a T. He got. He captured one of the criminals. He stopped the truck drivers from getting their stuff stolen. He killed a murderer. He killed a murderer. Excuse me. He like did part of it. He didn't have to have sex with the sister. That was we should have known.
Bonus.
We should have known his character was flawed.
He could have wrapped this case up in 2 days if he was not in any way like, I like all those people.
Yeah. By the way, yeah. Also, yeah. I mean, he did his job, but he also did it in the worst possible way. I think you're right. You're convinced me because he did not have to have sex with his sister. He clearly wants to be a criminal. At the end of the day, he was like, I don't think I wanted to be a cop. And he was like, I owe you a 10-second car. Here's your 10-second car because I respect you, even though you've been stealing electronics from truck drivers. And then he let him go. And then he has so much explaining to do. And then that's the movie.
If you see the interlude, he doesn't explain. He just bounces.
I mean,
yes.
Like, it's a criminal?
Oh, is
What?
he a criminal or is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It shows him driving from LA to Miami
Okay.
and how he got there. Because in Too Fast and Furious, he just shows up in Miami. You're like, how the fuck did this guy get here? So yeah, it kind of provides like a. You're like, how the fuck did yours all of a sudden show up in like some boathouse in Miami and with Ludacris?
It's just crazy. It's just a fucking beautiful Beautiful mystery, as the great Aaron
That's it.
Rodgers once said.
Yeah. Do we have any other items to discuss? Like, you guys want to go over your topics or your categories?
No,
I just can't. This is a 20-year franchise. That blows my mind.
Yeah. I have a couple things to say before
let's do it.
we wrap this up.
Let's do it.
It's probably gonna take around 10 minutes, just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah. I got
Sure,
10.
sir?
I have a
Perfect.
lot.
Let's do it.
So here we go. This whole movie, this whole script is based on a street racing article from Vibe magazine in 1998.
Yes.
The article is about the racing scene in New York City. The location was most likely changed because Vin Diesel didn't sign on to the movie till after the script was changed like 3 or 4 times, which I think you had mentioned.
Mhm.
David Ayer came in to write it, and he does a lot of his movies in Southern California, especially Los Angeles, if you've followed his career, which I will get to. He directed Street Kings, End of Watch, Sabotage, Suicide Squad, Bright, Fury, and Tax Collector. He also wrote Training Day and SWAT. Literally, all those movies but Suicide Squad take place in Los Angeles.
Yes.
David Ayer is obsessed. So he wrote the script, and then Rob Cohen was the one who directed it. He directed, this is just a couple things. He hasn't done anything since this, essentially.
Tragedy.
The Skulls, Dragonheart, the Triple X, which Vin Diesel's also in, Stealth, The Mummy 3, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor,
Jesus.
and the Hurricane Heist, which I think came out 2018, which was terrible.
All horrible movies.
The budget was $38 million. It made $207 million, which was insane at the time. 6.8 stars out of 10 on IMDb. And then I did have a moment. I wanted to say this earlier. My favorite car is Leon's car. My favorite character is Leon throughout this whole movie. And so
we could tell.
I found this out a year ago. And so I've been holding this with someone who would pay attention to this. So Leon's yellow car, which he is in with the police dispatch radio thing.
Yeah, go home, pizza boy.
Yeah, it's a 1995 Nissan Skyline GTR R33, which I looked into last year because I saw some shit on Instagram and I was like, I like that car, and I went down this big rabbit hole. That car just became legal in America in January 2021. So this movie was filmed in 2000. That car was not legal in America. So anyone who saw that, or any cop who saw that, was supposed to pull it over and send it to like a demolition area, like
shit,
and strip it. So he was driving around in a car that wasn't legal for 21 years
on heroin,
which is insane. Yes. And so the R32 became legal in January 2014. Here's a couple of notes on these cars.
I love this, John.
I'm like super into these cars. So to be drivable in California, you have to ensure it passes gas emissions. Cost to become gas emission friendly in California, which is like the strictest in the U.S., is around $10,000. It takes up to 2 months to ensure it'll pass smog in California. 2 months and $10K just to get it legal. And then you have to wait until it's 25 years to become legal in the United States. And then the R34s, which are a newer kind, which is I believe it's the one Brian drove in Too Fast, Too Furious, the silver one with the blue lighting, becomes legal in 2024. And those are imported and legal, cost up to $250K. So if it's a legal car from R34, its minimum cost is $250,000. Minimum. And you have to import them from Japan because they're not street legal here. Leon's
These boys
car
are bad.
Yes.
Some bad boys.
going back to that car, it's nicknamed Big Bird. The guy who owned it after the movie is named Sean Morris. He owns Top Rank Importers in Orange County, which is in Cyprus. I've been there twice. It's actually a really cool shop if you go walk around. They specialize in importing cars from Japan. They have a fuckload of Skylines, like literally a fuckload. Now that they're becoming legal, especially their business is booming. Like I said, the R33s didn't become legal until 2021 because you have to wait the 25 years for them to do that. I think in California, you also have that for like old Volkswagen buses. They no longer have to pass smog because they're so old, where they're just allowed to be around because they're considered classics. And then, so that was my favorite car based off just the price, the fact that it's the most expensive one and the least seen.
like we saw it maybe twice, and it's worth up to, at the time, or like right now, it's worth up to $250K. Back then, in 21 years ago, I have no clue how much
$500,000
it's worth. And then but going based off best quote, that's the one I talked to you. So we saw Vin Diesel's character Dom Toretto kind of grow, show he didn't give a fuck about anyone, because family is a huge issue as you watch all these movies with him, and at the time he doesn't give a fuck. And then like I mentioned earlier, Leon is my favorite character. We need a spin-off movie as to where he showed up. What he did with that car would be even better. In real life, that car.
Yeah. He totally pawned that car for heroin, John.
Off scene.
And so in real life, that car was sold by Sean Morris, the owner of Top Rank, to someone in Wisconsin.
I love
around
somebody in Wisconsin.
2007. In 2007, he got caught with the car. He actually had two Skylines at the time that were both illegal. He got caught with both cars, and the government of Wisconsin were like, you need to crush and demolish those because they're not street legal in America. The buyer wanted, which is unknown, the buyer requested and appealed to have those moved to a different country so he can keep them. The appeal was denied, and they were crushed, and so they no longer are actual cars in existence.
Fucking Packers fans.
So that is how insane, though how insanely illegal those cars were. And it was supposed to, and so I read up on this last night, looking into it just a bit further. That yellow car was supposed to be Brian's, which is why he drives the Skyline in Too Fast, Too Furious. They wanted the Skyline for Brian, but it was for some reason they just didn't use it for him. I think it was like the yellow popped too much to be like it was just like too annoying or something. But they do, like I said,
the orange with the green flames, wasn't?
Yeah, right. And so he does drive the R34 in Too Fast, Too Furious, which we see in Miami. So.
Which we will get to next fucking week, baby. Yes. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. So that was my little tidbit. I did a little bit of research on that. And I think I mentioned everything else. Cha-Cha Cafe, the Snapple, how does Vince escape to Brazil? What happens to Lance after the crash? And then the whole fucking gang's fucked up. Vince is in the hospital. Letty's bruised and cut up after flipping her car. Jesse's dead. Dom's broken arm. Leon disappears forever. Probably OD'd somewhere. So that whole gang's fucked. And then we did the distance issue. The fashion no-nos I had that we had mentioned as a category was pretty much everything Letty wears.
Yes. Yes.
When she brings down the glasses when she races.
I'm going to disagree with you, because especially the opening scene that she's in, I swear to God, that shit that's on Fashion Nova now. Like that's what like Gen Z wears.
In what scene?
True.
Sorry?
This is true.
Her whole Fashion Nova. It's
the
like
racing scene?
The first scene she's in like a mesh green tank and like big like Dickies and like docks with like red flames on them. Like I've seen Gen Z girls wear that now.
Yeah,
I will say,
it's coming back around.
This is all in.
It's
now.
all back. It's all back. Like this outfit that I'm wearing. Some of you may fucking be like, I like your drip. You know?
No, I remember we were at a store and we were talking about how the 90s are back, and then he was like, the 2000s are coming. I was like, no, low-rise jeans, no, don't come back from
what happened to Jinkos? I haven't seen Jinkos yet.
Oh, they're gonna come back. Jinkos
Von Dutch is back. I've seen Von Dutch. Yeah, I've seen trucker hats are back. I saw a girl wear like a 16, 14-year-old girl wearing like pink Von Dutch hat.
God damn it.
Yeah, and then
this is upsetting.
I love it. It's so
I
crazy.
think it's hilarious.
I think it's
so you're saying is I need to put a giant decal on the side of my car?
West Coast Choppers is coming back. The dudes in the garage are like, "Hey, dude, we're back. We've
been
waiting
upward,
for this fucking moment."
I
Hit My Ride comes back. Fucking, I can't wait for that shit. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we have Too Fast, Too Furious coming. We're gonna record that sometime next week. We're gonna figure that out.
Tomorrow.
We're gonna keep doing them all. Yeah, I mean, we figure it out. I fucking love
this whole series.
Love doing this. This was a lot of fun. And then we'll figure out new stuff to put in. I like the history stuff. I was trying to find some history stuff. that history stuff, John, that was great. We need more of that shit. And then we're gonna figure out a way to structure this and figure out the best way to do this. But this was a lot of fun. We're gonna keep doing it until we get to the big dance 9. I'm so excited.
Ah, yes.
Family. Keep,
Salute.
so if you made it this far, subscribe, send it to somebody else. This is the what is this from? I can't get over the fact that we're gonna end up in space. From Echo Park to space.
Not confirmed it's space, but it's pretty damn close.
It's pretty damn close. They're basically superheroes. They're basically like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know. It's incredible. I love this. I was about to say hot take, but it doesn't matter. From Echo Park to space, the Fast and Furious. We're going to review them all. Subscribe. It's on the First Team Second String podcast. So just send it to anybody that's a movie lover. This will be on YouTube. Find us on First Team Second String pod. We're just going to keep doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed.